Hey there, friends all over the world. Well, it's time to get back to our 30 states RV trip. Where did we leave off? I think it was Kentucky. The Christmas special from Arizona was not part of our 30 states trip. It was a special to visit my granddaughter in Arizona. So from Lexington, Kentucky, we moved on to Virginia. Virginia, if you have told me before our trip that Virginia would be one of the most favorite states of mine, I would say, what? Why? Because I thought my favorite states are, Tennessee, all the music venues, and Virginia was more for my husband, because he's a history buff and he wanted to visit best battlefields and museums. So that's where I put Virginia, in that corner. Little did I know. We visited Virginia twice, so I'm wrapping Virginia, both trips in this video. But the first trip was in July, the second trip was on August 17. There was the entire Pennsylvania and New Jersey in between. Our first stop in Virginia was the Cumberland Gap. Oh my God, it's so pretty there. Virginia reminded me a lot of my home in the Bavarian Alps. It's green, it's, there are mountains, there are hills, nice roads to drive through forests, and it was just breathtaking for me. So that was my first impression from Virginia. We stayed at the historic park site from Cumberland Gap on the Virginia side, and it is called the Wilderness Road Campground. Wilderness Road Campground. I just read it from my trip agenda, that I don't say it wrong. I will put a link in the description of that video of all the venues I mentioned. Yeah, Cumberland Gap was very pretty. The campground, oh my God, was one of our best campgrounds. It's a state campground, but you are standing in the forest, huge camp lots, so you're not really on top of the next camper. We were surrounded by trees. It was a pull through, easy to get in and out, and full hookups, everything you want on a campground, but it's still in the woods, state campground. It was pretty. I wanted to stay longer, but we hadn't, we had to be at the next place that was booked, so we couldn't only stay, I think 2 nights we stayed there. We visited, it's kind of funny, Cumberland Gap is where Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia come together, and it's Daniel Boone country, basically. And so you can go in the morning, you can have breakfast in Virginia, then you have lunch in Tennessee, and dinner in Kentucky, or anywhere you want. So that was fun. We hiked up to that little I don't know how they call it, viewpoint on the Virginia side, where you see the gap, and that was kind of fun. We also visited the museum that was right on the foot of that hike. You get a lot of information how these people lived then. The Daniel Boone Trail, we tried to figure out. For me it's amazing that these people could walk and in these huge distances where we have trouble to drive an RV, It was just a we had a very good time at the Cumberland Gap, to say it that way. So the next, and I think I have one photo in there, was the Harvest Host in the Roanoke area. It's called the Peaks of Otter, yeah. And it's up on the mountain. It's like a farm, an orchard, and a winery. It was very nice, very quiet up there. We were parked next to an apple orchard, very, very scenic. And but it also was one of the hottest nights we ever had on our trip. And this is when I learned that unlike California, where you have, in Gilroy here, you have hot days, 105, but it always cools down around 6 o'clock. And then in the night, it's beautifully cool. Not so in the south. That's what I learned in Virginia. It stays 95, 98, humid and hot in the night. And this is something I had a hard time getting accustomed to. I mean, I could not sleep in that heat. We had the AC going in the RV, but it was just really hot. Yeah. And I also remembered I had to get medical ointment because I developed rashes in body folds, you know, like under your arms, because you're sweating and it's just humid and you have to be really careful with that. I felt like my body got eaten by bacteria, I don't know. But I had the right medication but what actually prevented getting these rashes was putting diaper rash cream. I got that recommendation. I think it was somebody up there at Peaks of Otter to put that on, and then you prevent these rashes from starting. And now I understand when I hear these ads, when they say women who use baby powder, you know, they have to be careful because they had found cancer stuff in them. Now, I always questioned, why are these people using baby powder? And now I understand. In the South, you use something in your body folds in order to prevent these rashes. Learning experience. Anyway, yeah, so we stayed at that Harvest Host. 2 thumbs up if you want to stay there. They have a nice shop where I think we got fruit wine, we got jam, we got some salsa. They have all kinds of stuff to purchase. And they even offer you a shower. They have a shower there. They offer you if you don't have one in your RV. Very nice people. Very good Harvest Host. And from there, I think Bedford was the little town. It's in the Roanoke area. And from there, we went to Shannon, Doah, and this will be the next one. First, I show you pictures from Cumberland Gap and Harvest Host. That's one of the best camp spots we ever had. Not a freaking soul around. Pull through. It's at the Cumberland Gap. See, picnic table, electricity. That's a state park. Cumberland Gap. I got a fire pit. Yeah, that would have been one I would have liked to stay a bit longer and explore it. But we have to go. We are on a quest. So we are heading today to our next harvest host, which is Peak of the Otter Winery, also Virginia. Talk to you then. Cumberland Gap, Pinnacle View. Give you a little scenery. I got dizzy up here. The St. Louis Arch didn't bother me at all,
So
but
that
here,
must be the gap right through there.
yeah, that's the gap. Following Daniel Boone from Fort Boomborough all the way down here, where we are. And look who's mentioned here. Cumberland Gap is Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. So it's kind of like in Germany, Lake Constance, Dreiländereck. Pretty cool. We are at the information center of Cumberland Gap. At the Shannon Doah, at the Shenandoah National Park, right? Not state, yeah. Shenandoah National Park. We stayed 4 nights, 5 nights actually, in the Endless Cavern RV Resort that's nearby the town of New Market. And it's very pretty. Oh my God, Shenandoah, there's a highway through the Shenandoah Highway where you see the whole scenery, you know. It's incredibly pretty, and there's caverns you can visit. One of the largest caverns you can go and check out. New Market is a town that was very interesting. They had a coffee shop, and in the coffee shop was also the town museum about the Civil War. And so it's not one room was a museum, one room was a coffee shop. It was all in one. So you were sitting there with your coffee and you looked at pictures from the Civil War and artifacts and information, and it was just an amazing experience. I thought that was a neat idea. They also had some coffee they burned themselves, and some weird coffee, and I liked it. We still have one bag half full, so that's the last one we have from them. We drink strong coffee. Our normal brand is Major Dickinson whole beans, because we grind it ourselves, and that's a really strong coffee. we got one from there, and that was just as good. So yeah, it was a good coffee shop. The RV park was nice. Our spot, and you will see it on the pictures, our spot was the highest one. So the RV park was along up on a hill. So you had the shower houses and all that on the level, on the, you know, on the level surface, and then all the camp spots went up like a ladder on the hill, and we were on top. Nobody else was higher than we were, and that was so cool. Nobody was near us, and I put pictures in, and I got to know my friends, the fireflies. I was practicing guitar outside, and then whoo, I saw sparks. I said, "But what the hell? I'm not plugged in. Why do I spark something here?" And Clay said, "No, that's the fireflies." And then, you know, when it gets dark, and it was amazing. This is the place I saw the most fireflies I've ever seen. We were sitting in the front of the RV in the night, like TV, like movie theater, and we watched for the fireflies to appear. I think some of you call them lightning bugs. I call them fireflies. Like hundreds of them were sparking up the forest, and it was just so great to see, and it inspired me to write my song Fireflies. I only have a rough version right now to show you. I don't have a bass line yet. I have to work on some guitar chords with it, and in the end it will be a nice song, but I show you a rough version from it. Something else happened in Shannon, Doah. One of our worst experiences of this trip. My husband noticed, well, we gotta do something with our RV. The check engine light is on, and he told me it's on since quite a while. He didn't want to scare me, so he didn't tell me. It's the catalytic converter that made trouble. So he said, "I think we have to get a new catalytic converter." The one we had about 65,000 miles on it. So it could be, you know, that we need a new one. So where to go? We are in the middle of the Shenandoah Valley, and we just Googled, and nobody could help us until we found a Ford dealer in Richmond. Because the problem is with an RV is the RV guys don't want to work or cannot work on the Ford chassis. And the Ford guys, they don't have a bay big enough to get an RV in, most of them. So it's not that easy to find somebody who can help you. And we found that Ford dealer, and I have it on my picture, the name, and I will link to them in the description, because they deserve praise. First of all, we talked to them, and they said, well, right as we Google, there are only 9 catalytic converters in the United States available of the type you need. Ooh. And they said, well, if you promise us to come over and pay for it, we order it right away. We take your word that you say, yeah, tomorrow we will be coming over. We drive to Richmond, and we will pay for it. And then we either take it with us or we leave it with you if we can fix it at your place, which we didn't know could happen, because they said we don't know if our bay is big enough. We have a bay for trucks, where we fix trucks, and that might work, but we gotta look at it. So next day we went to Richmond from Shenandoah, to visit that Ford dealer, and on the way we made a little stop at Cooter's Garage, which was very fun. You know, but it was one of my favorite shows in Germany, and the good old boys, you know. And this was fun, and we came to Richmond, and we paid for the catalytic converter, and we got a date, August 17, to bring the RV in to get it fixed. And this was August 17 was exactly the day when we wanted to be in Richmond anyway, after we would move on to Pennsylvania, and we would come back that way, and we wanted to be in Richmond to visit some other historic stuff, museum and Civil War stuff. My husband wanted to see a battlefield, and so, okay, we did that. And this was then trip 2 was August 17, where we stayed in the King's Dominion KOA in Richmond, and had the RV serviced and put that catalytic converter in. And yeah, while they were doing that, we did our trips, and that will be, I think I put those pictures in. We read about it until you see the pictures up to now, what I told you to. Gets too much otherwise. Yeah, I got it.
Huh?
I got it.
What did you?
Yeah, I got it.
Huh?
I got it.
What did you?
Chasing fireflies in Georgia all the way to Tennessee. Cannot catch you in New Orleans, 'cause like I, you're living free, yeah. Like I, you're living free. Yes, I felt your blues in Memphis, heard you singing your sad song. Took the first train out of Nashville, with my bass shuffling along, yeah, with my bass shuffling along. Chasing fireflies in Georgia all the way to Tennessee. Cannot catch them in New Orleans, 'cause like I, you're living free. Yeah, like I, you're living free. Your light is glowing in my soul. See you dancing to my song. Cannot keep your spirit in my hand. But you flying to Graceland. What you flying to Graceland. Hiding in daylight and firefly by night. Hiding in daylight and firefly by night. Chasing fireflies in Georgia all the way to Tennessee. Cannot catch them in New Orleans, 'cause like I, you're living free, yeah. Like I, you're living free. Watch the stars in California, every bright one looks like you. Fireflies spark my daydreams, miss you more than what it seems, yeah, miss you more than what it seems. Chasing fireflies in Georgia, all the way to Tennessee. Cannot catch them in New Orleans, 'cause like I, you're living free, yeah, like I, you're living free. So while that Ford center was servicing our RV in Richmond, we decided to visit a museum, which was the Tredegar Ironworks. It was kind of the southern centers in the Civil War, where they produced not just railroad spikes, but artillery and cannons and weapons, so to say. And that was a very interesting museum. You can see how European immigrants first worked in this facility for very low money, for very little money. Immigrants from Germany, from Ireland, and then they introduced slave work, which were even more productive for them because they didn't have to pay them anything. And how how the war was paid on the backs of poor people on both sides, by the way. You know, I'm not gonna take a stance here. The North exploited their people also in their factories, but they give you the information in a very honest way. So it's a very informative museum. And after that, we went to the Killings Fields of Cold Harbor. Yeah, I have a shirt from that. And I show you pictures from that. Clay wanted to see all that because he's the history buff, but I was extremely impressed, and I had learned a lot on these battlefields, battlegrounds. If it was in Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, or in Vicksburg, or there in Virginia. Virginia is one big battlefield, I guess. So there are so many museums and battlegrounds. You can spend your entire vacation there. To me, it always gave me an eerie feeling to standing on one of those battlegrounds, and I almost could feel the suffering and the immense bloodshed that happened there. Imagine, like in Gettysburg, more people were killed in Gettysburg, I think, than in any other war. I think so. Or in Antietam, more people, the most people killed in one day, you know. So there was, in the Civil War, there was extreme bloodshed, and you know, you could firmly, and what they do there, like in Gettysburg or here in the museums in Richmond or in other states, we saw the museums, they don't just tell you, oh yeah, there was a war and so many people got killed, you know. They show you the faces and the names of the people who died there, who gave their lives. They show you the faces and the names of nurses who gave everything to help their soldiers. And in the end, died, either burned in a house, because you know it was the war was there where the people lived. You know, you have to understand that Gettysburg, they had one of the best crops in that year, and then everything got burned to the ground because the North wanted to avoid that the South was provided with food, you know, so they starved people out. Some extreme, especially for women, I think it gets really clear how the war affects women. They get raped, they get killed, they give their last to help on either side. You know, I'm not taking sides here, I'm just saying this is the horrible picture of war, and it made me grateful that I grew up in a generation I did not have to experience war. My grandmother had to survive 2 world wars in Germany on the battlefield, and I had the luck to grow up. Yeah, we had the Berlin Wall and the Cold War, but we grew up mainly in peace and abundance, and that made me very grateful for that. I heard these horrible stories and of heroes and of war, and they put it in your face. So if you are there, you learn a lot, and it's not just numbers and statistics. You see the faces of the war, and that makes it very interesting, but also I don't know how to express. I don't want to be too theatrical here. I don't know how to say it, but I could feel the suffering. I could smell the stench of death, and I could feel the suffering walking these battlegrounds. And yeah, this is the pictures I show you now. It was very interesting. It was an immense, for me, an immense learning experience. So from King's Dominion in Richmond, we moved on to Pennsylvania, right? No, that's not true. Pennsylvania came before King's Dominion. See, that what I always mix up, because we were in Richmond, we were in Virginia twice. So the first trip was Cumberland Gap and the Shenandoah Valley. And the second trip was to Richmond, to the battleground, the museum, and to service our RV. And we both had got it done. From Richmond, let me see where we went from there. I think to the Carolinas, if I'm not wrong. Let me just check that out. So I have my computer here. So from Richmond, King's Dominion, yeah, from Richmond we went to the Carolinas. So this is the next story, and I hope you have a great weekend. I just came back from the gym. You know, I bought a 4th base, and the deal was if you buy a 4th base, you go to the gym with me 3 times a week. That was my husband, and so far I held up on this agreement. 2 weeks now I go 3 times to the gym, and it's still hurting. I hope that will stop at some point. So see you again when we visit the Carolinas. Correction, the Carolinas will come after Philadelphia, of course, because I haven't told you about Philadelphia, and that was a big trip too. And that also includes our harvest host in New Jersey, because we went all the way to New Jersey to dip our feet in the Atlantic Ocean. As to say, California, peace out, pow.